Thanks a ton for joining me today. So as he said, I'm David Molot. I'm one of the co-founders here at hotglue, and I'm also here to talk about data operability. So for a little bit of context, hotglue is a tool that helps other companies offer integrations to their customers. So if you were building a billing platform, maybe you want to offer accounting integrations to your customers, hotglue is a company that helps software companies today facilitate those integrations. So for us, data operability is a super critical issue, but I think what I want to talk about today is a little bit more about how it really affects innovation and competition kind of in our entire economy. So see if I can get this to move. There we go. Let's start with why access to data is so vital in today's kind of digital landscape. So in the AI era, access to data literally decides whether or not a company is competitive. And so AI startups need these massive data sets to train competitive models. And they face a fundamental disadvantage against established players who already control these vast data resources. So at hotglue, we've seen firsthand now how innovation can flourish when companies have access and control to their customers' data with consent, especially for AI-powered solutions. But there's a significant thing standing in the way, and that's essentially a data monopoly problem. And so for major tech companies, they've created these monopolies by hoarding user data. And so what I mean by that is AI development is becoming increasingly centralized amongst a handful of tech giants. And this forces smaller companies to resort to alternatives. This includes legally risky things like web scraping. And then if they don't take that risk, they're also left to rely on much smaller data sets and develop much more inferior models. And so if we look at TikTok as an example, their algorithmic advantage comes directly from extensive data collection that competitors just simply can't match. And so to understand where we stand today, Europe's taken a big step here with GDPR Article 20 and kind of the establishment of protected portability rights for individuals. Meanwhile, we've fallen a bit behind. We failed to enact the ADPPA in 2023, and this included many tech giants who were actually preparing for that bill to pass. But kind of as the conversation before alluded to, the bill didn't make it to the floor, partially due to lobbying efforts by big tech, and they lobbied the fact that it would change their business models, and that would be a detriment to American society. And so we do have some promising examples of companies that have been successful with this model, though. So there's a company called Plaid. They're a financial integration platform, and they exemplify this today. And so Plaid created a common model that allowed software companies to reliably, with consumer consent, connect to your financial data. So I don't know if any of you have ever used like a Rocket Bill, a True Money, any of those kinds of things, but when you've connected your credit card or your bank account, that's actually being done by this company called Plaid that made it really easy for software companies to be able to authenticate with your banking systems. So when we look at the most compelling case study of how this data operability is going to work, the UK actually launched something called the Open Banking Initiative in 2018. This required their 9 largest banks to actually make the data from those banks accessible to licensed startups. And so by January of 2024, about a fifth of small businesses in the UK are actually using products that use that data that would not have been available without the Open Banking Initiative. This is like accounting software with like direct bank connections or tools that aggregate data across accounts. And so the regulations are even getting to a point where big tech companies like Apple are now having to comply with the Open Banking Initiative in the UK, meaning you can actually integrate your banking directly with your Apple Wallet now in the UK, and that's something that Apple had to change to comply with the Open Banking Initiative. So this kind of brings me to what I think we can do in the US. And so the vision here is we do need a federal data portability regulation. I think it would transform the way our digital landscape kind of is. And so first it comes with startup growth. And so today startups need to build their own data moat from scratch. And so with data portability, companies could focus on creating better services rather than just accumulating data. So imagine if you could share your content preferences from Instagram to another product as easily as you can export a document. This shifts competition from who has the most data to who creates the best experience. Second, innovation acceleration. And so data portability enables smaller companies to build big and fast. And so imagine you were a healthcare startup that could analyze the spending patterns, fitness data, medical records, all with your consent. and provide personalized wellness guidance. These cross-domain applications are completely impossible today in the siloed data environment unless you're in big tech. Third, let's enable competition with established API frameworks. Right now, competition policy focuses on breaking up big tech, which is difficult. APIs are kind of the highway of today's kind of digital economy, and so, and so we need to make sure that we kind of continue to understand and build an API framework that makes it easily accessible for all companies. And lastly, I just want to quickly talk about the economic impact before I get off the stage. McKinsey estimated that this data operability just in the finance sector by 2030 would increase our GDP by 1 to 1.5%. So this is a few $100 billion economic decision, not just kind of pennies in the bucket. So that's kind of what I wanted to share about. I know I didn't have that much time, so I don't think it's just a technical issue. We've seen this be really effective for companies and important in terms of making competition easier in the American space, and so I think it's time for the US to catch up with this. I'm pretty passionate about this topic, so if you do want to chat or anything, let me know, but otherwise, thank you guys so much for your time.